Welcome everyone to English Grammar Topics. Today's lecture is about adverbial clauses. Similar to the other clauses, I mean noun clauses and relative clauses, adverbial clauses are also dependent clauses. They cannot stand alone in a sentence. They must be connected to independent clauses to complete the meaning of a sentence. They function as adverbs in a sentence. That's why they are called adverbial clauses. They usually begin with conjunctions such as although, because, or when. Of course, there are other conjunctions which we'll be talking about later. These are called subordinating conjunctions. For example, he went to bed because he was sleepy. In this sentence, we have the conjunction because, which expresses a reason. And the clause because he was sleepy comes after the main clause he went to bed. We can also put this adverbial clause at the beginning of the sentence. Because he was sleepy, in this case we need to insert a comma to separate the two clauses, and then we put the main clause, he went to bed. So, because he was sleepy is an adverbial clause. However, the sentence, because he was sleepy, full stop, he went to bed, is incorrect. Why? Because the adverbial clause, because he was sleepy, is used alone. This clause cannot stand alone. It must be connected to an independent clause to complete the meaning of a sentence. I hope this is quite clear. Let's move to the other slide, which is about punctuation. When an adverbial clause follows an independent clause, usually no comma is used. For example, we visited several landmarks when we were in London. Here, when we were in London is the adverbial clause which comes after the independent clause, we visited several landmarks. So as you see, there is no comma used between the two clauses. However, when an adverbial clause precedes the independent clause, in this case we need a comma to separate the two clauses. For example, when we were in London, we visited several landmarks. Here, when we were in London is the adverbial clause which comes before the main or the independent clause, we visited several landmarks. As you see, there is a comma used between the two clauses because we need a comma to separate these two clauses. Hope this is quite clear for you. Moving to the other slide, which is subordinating conjunctions. These conjunctions are used to connect an adverbial clause to another clause. These include time, for example, while, when, after, before, until, since, as. We have reason, cause and effect, just like because, since, now that. Purpose, so that, in order that, in order to. Results, so, that, such, that. These, the last two ones should be separated by certain words. I'll be talking about them later. And the last one, trust. Although, though, despite, even though, while, whereas. So I'll be talking about each one of them separately. So let's start with the first one, which is time. We have while, when, after, before, until, since, as. These are used to describe something that happens. It's about the time. For example, Sam had already left when Anne got there. So when Anne got there is the adverbial clause which comes after the independent clause Sam had already left. So Sam had already left is the first activity, while Anne got there is the second one. This adverbial clause, when Anne got there, comes after the main clause, so there is no need to use a comma. But we can use a comma when we put this adverbial clause at the beginning. When Anne got there, comma, Sam had already left. So we need this comma to be inserted between the two clauses. Let's take other examples. She will get a job after she graduates. So after she graduates comes after the main clause, she will get a job. We can put it at the beginning of the sentence. After she graduates, we need to put a comma. She will get a job. So when the adverbial clause comes at the beginning of a sentence, we need a comma to separate the two clauses. Another example, I will leave before he comes. So we can also say before he comes, I will leave. So here we put a comma after the adverbial clause to separate it from the main one. Another example. Mary has made many friends since she came to this city. So since is used, this adverbial clause, since she came to this city, after the independent clause, Mary has made many friends. We can say also, since Mary came to this city, a comma, she has made many friends. As you see, we put a comma when the adverbial clause comes or precedes the independent clause. Why? To separate the two clauses. Try to pay attention to the place of the adverbial clause. Moving to the second one, which is reason, cause and effect. We have because, since, now that, and others. These are used to give a reason or an explanation for something. So there is a reason that something happened. For example, we stayed home because the weather was bad. So there is a reason for staying at home. Why? Because of the bad weather. As you see, the clause, the weather was bad, is introduced by the conjunction because. So the whole clause, because the weather was bad, is an adverbial clause which comes after the independent clause, we stayed home. As you see, there is no comma used between the two clauses. We also use since to talk about a starting point and the reason together. For example, since Sunday is a holiday, we don't have to go to work. So we have the conjunction since and the adverbial clause, since Sunday is a holiday. So this is the reason for not going to work. Why? Because the specific day, Sunday, is a holiday. As you see, the adverbial clause, since Sunday is a holiday, comes before the independent clause, and in this case we inserted a comma to separate the two clauses. With regard to now that, it is used for present cases to describe present or future situations. So this is not used to talk about past situations. For example, now that the semester is over, I am going to rest a few days. So there is a reason for resting a few days. Why? Because the semester is over, which also means because the semester is over. As you see, the adverbial clause, now that the semester is over comes before or precedes the main clause. In this case, we put a comma to separate the two clauses. We also have while and as, which are used to talk about time and reason together. Let's take this example. All the banks will be closed on Monday. It is a holiday. So let's join these two sentences using the conjunction as. So in this case, we need to pay attention to the meaning in order to insert the right clause with the conjunction. So what is the reason for all the banks to be closed on Monday? Because Monday is a holiday. So the sentence will be, as it is a holiday, we put a comma because we put this adverbial clause at the beginning. All the banks will be closed on Monday. We can also say all the banks will be closed on Monday as it is a holiday. I hope this is quite clear for you. You need just to pay attention to the meaning in order to use the correct or the suitable clause with the conjunction, and at the same time pay attention when you place the adverbial clause in the sentence. If it is at the beginning, before the main clause, we need to insert a comma to separate the two clauses. Otherwise, there is no need to insert a comma when the adverbial clause comes after the main clause. Let's move to the other one, which is purpose. We have so that, in order to, so as to, and to. These conjunctions are used to describe purposes or goals. Let's have the following structure. So that, in order that, are used with modals. These are followed by clauses that contain a modal verb. So, for example, I will take my umbrella so that, or in order that, I won't get wet. So we have this modal used in this sentence. Regarding in order to, so as to, or to, these are followed by a base form of the verb. Why? Because we have the infinitive to. For example, I am going to withdraw some money in order to, so as to buy some textbooks. So we have here the verb buy in its base form. Regarding negation, we put not here after order or as. So in order not to, or so as not to. For example, we waited a few minutes until the rain stopped. We didn't want to get wet. So let's join these clauses using so as to. We waited a few minutes until the rain stopped. What is the purpose of waiting a few minutes? So as not to get wet. So pay attention to the original sentence. We have we didn't want to get wet. So you have to take the phrase that is introduced by to, so to get wet. So we have to include just this part, but pay attention that this clause itself is negative, so we have to say so as not to get wet. So pay attention how to use so as to or so as not to, and the same in order to or order not to when joining two clauses. We can also put so as not to at the beginning of the sentence, but in this case we need to insert a comma. So as not to get wet, comma, we waited a few minutes until the rain stopped. As you see, we need a comma when the adverbial clause comes before the independent clause. Let's have some more examples about these conjunctions. Let's start with the first one. We are going on holiday this month. We must make reservations. We have here before. Before we go on holiday this month, comma, why? Because the adverbial clause comes at the beginning of the sentence. We must make reservations. So when you use a conjunction just like before, you need to pay attention to the meaning of the sentence. Here we have to pay attention to the first activity in order to use it with the conjunction before. Another example, I will be working late. I will eat out. Here we have since, which expresses a reason. So I will eat out since I will be working late. So what is the reason for eating out? Because I'll be working late. As you see, we put the adverbial clause after the main clause, so there is no need to put a comma, but we can also say since I'll be working late, comma, I will eat out. Another example, everyone has left the party. We need to start cleaning up. We also have another conjunction now that expresses a reason. Now that everyone has left the party, we put a comma again. Why? Because the adverbial clause comes before the main clause, and then we say we need to start cleaning up. We can also say we need to start cleaning up now that everyone has left the party, but without including any comma. One more example, Matt took lots of pictures on his trip. He showed us where he had been. We need to use so that expresses a purpose. So the sentence will be, Matt took lots of pictures on his trip so that he could show us where he had been. As you see, we need to use a modal verb. So we put here could to express the meaning of possibility, and since the original sentence is describing something in the past, we need to use the past form of can, which is could. So try to pay attention when using so that or in order that we need to use a modal, a suitable modal. So this is the end of this presentation. I'll be talking about the other groups of conjunctions next time. Thank you very much indeed for your listening. If you have any questions, feel free to raise them in the streaming section.